Thank you for joining me. This will be my review of the MCU show Marvel Zombies. I am only spoiling the MCU leading up to this show. I will not spoil anything about this show. Anything I say in this video about this show is stuff that I genuinely think is okay for you to know, and I like for people to go in not knowing spoilers. Uh, yes, the show is rated TVMA, so will this video be. And yeah, I fucking love this show. Let's dive right in. But I will also note, I'm not gonna glaze it. Not everything's gonna be positive here. Oh, and right here at the top, fuck Disney. They need to treat their employees better. Stand up to Trump. He's a goddamn fascist. We all have to, large corporations especially. Like, if you're powerful, you have fucking got to stand your ground now, because he's just gonna keep taking. He will never be satisfied. And I'm not just talking about, you know, the fascist shit. I mean, just in general, he is someone who is incapable of ever feeling complete satisfaction. I haven't read too much and never enough, but my dad has. He says it's fantastic. Really helps you understand Trump, if that is something that you feel comfortable with. So the this does follow the What If episode. Yeah, it's pretty amazing. They made 3 seasons of that. There's like 30 episodes on about. I feel like they pretty much wanted nearly every episode to be successfully a spin-off for its own thing, and so far it looks like this might be the only one. But I will also say, if we're only going to get one, first of all, I'm glad that this is what we got, because it's fucking amazing. And this is also a concept that makes sense as a, and for those who don't know, yes, the comics also have a Marvel Zombies. From what I understand, it is in some ways very different from what we got here. But, you know, part of it is that here it's very much related to the MCU, where in the comics they have access to all the Marvel characters. So yeah, but yeah, I do recommend. If I know a lot of people don't like What If. I'm not completely, listen. I'm not saying that they're perfect. Like, Secret Invasion is quite bad, but I don't think I fully understand why it is people hate What If so much, or find it to be so average and underwhelming. I mean, I dislike the broad comedy, for example. There were times where I thought the art style didn't completely work. Some of the voices were a little off, but to just, I don't know. I don't understand why people have as big a problem with that show as many do. But yes, if you haven't watched it in a while, or not at all, I do recommend watching the episode that leads into this, because there are, it is a sequel to that episode. It is not just, I mean, I don't blame you if you thought that wouldn't be the case. I mean, Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, let's see. Did they? Yeah. That show changed a bunch between when it was announced and what we got. And yeah, I mean, there's stuff in that where it's not at all what you would expect. So I've made my point. I'm moving on. The psychological accuracy, authenticity, and level of detail are very strong here. They do a good job of having varied people, react in different ways to the zombie apocalypse. And yeah, there are details where it feels like, okay, they really do understand these characters and this kind of the what's the word, the god damn it, the various things, the various aspects in play. And yeah, they get into a lot of detail on at least some things, and it feels like, you know, like it shows right as zombies are starting to, you know, very early in the apocalypse, and it also shows some stuff after a while of the zombie apocalypse. And in both cases, it feels like they really thought through, you know, what would it look like. It's not a spoiler to say this is one of the first things you see. Some places, a while into the zombie apocalypse, are empty. And yeah, when we see the actual zombie apocalypse or early in the stages, it's fucking chaos. You know, it's like people are panicking all over the place. And yeah, and they also do a good job contrasting the two. And the tone, they do a really solid job. Okay, I want to start by acknowledging there are definitely times where the some of the lighter stuff doesn't completely work for various reasons. But a lot of the time, the tone is strong. They different episodes. There's 4 episodes of this. You know, one season, 4 episodes. It's unclear if we're getting more, but or I should say, I don't know if we're getting more. I haven't checked in a while. My wrists are pretty fucked, so hypothetically, you know, and also regardless, these days I do these reviews after just one season, so I don't, you know, wait for fucking ever like I did with I Am Groot. Because I kept thinking that there was going to be more I Am Groot. Anyway, yeah. I think, does that pretty well bring us to the let's see, the tone. Yes, the 4 episodes, they cover multiple tones, and I quite appreciate that, because the thing is, by now, like, I don't know if you've noticed, but zombies in American fiction have been around for a while, you know, like, I mean, let's see. I feel like I've heard that it wasn't technically the first, so I'm not calling it the first, but the one really major entry into American zombie movies was the original Night of the Living Dead. And I forget the exact year. I want to say, is it 63? It's 1960s, you know, so yeah, there are a number of different ones, and of course, over the decades, and also just in the hands of very different writers and directors, yeah, some of these have incredibly different tones, and yeah, I thought it really worked. The way that different episodes feel like different zombie movies, not always just one particular zombie movie, and occasionally not specifically a zombie movie at all. I mean, the very opening has a Evil Dead vibe to it. I'm unsure if it's the same font, but certainly it's very reminiscent. And the audio for the title screen is also reminded me of Evil Dead. But yeah, they take inspiration from movies across decades, and I'm impressed that they were able to make it all work with these very different ones. And the yeah, one of the things going on here, and they did do that some in the What If episode. And to be clear, I'm not disparaging the What If episode, though I do, I'm glad we got this. I think it would have been a real wasted opportunity if all Marvel Zombies we got was that episode, which it's, good to great. I think this is better. But yeah, the one of the things here, and this is part of why I'm really glad we get this, because like it's not like it's that difficult to find zombie media, but the one of the things they do is that it is characters that we know from the movies becoming zombified, and then we have good guys dying, or becoming zombies, and then attacking humans, and they have the same abilities and such that they did before they zombified. They're not as adept at using them because zombies, but that's fucking interesting, and they also have the technologies that that are in the MCU to play with, and I personally thought they did a really good job utilizing these different things they have, and it's also just like fucking wild to see, these characters that are in the very PG-13 MCU suddenly be like fucking ripped apart, the dialogue, I think works best when they're not doing the jokes, but there is a lot of really, really good, every most of the major characters, they really, they sound like themselves, and I'm not just referring to the fact that thankfully they did actually get a lot of the live action cast to reprise their roles here. But yeah, there are some really, really great lines of dialogue. Some of my favorite lines of dialogue of the entire MCU appear in this. And yeah, some of it is the fact that from PG-13 into TVMA, they can say pretty much whatever the fuck they want. And I'm not saying that, I don't think it's, it's one of those things where I probably bring it up too much. Okay, I'll try next time I talk about this. I'll try to have a different frame of reference. But remember Max Payne 2? They got to say fuck. So they had characters just say fuck over and over, and it just ended up feeling juvenile. Just that doesn't happen here, and I really appreciate that. It is one of those things they could easily have had just nonstop. Yeah. The direction is strong throughout this. Basically, so there's one of the things is the fact that the story remains very clear across, and also feeling paced. Yeah, the because it's this thing of, arguably it's potentially silly to release this purely on streaming, because like 4 episodes, about half an hour each, that is feature length. You could have put this in theaters, but I don't know if they yeah I don't know. Moving on. each episode does end in a way that encourages watching the next, not long after. And they were also released on the same day, which I'm not entirely sure. I feel like I heard that they were supposed to be like a week apart, and also closer to fucking Halloween. What are you doing? Like, what the fuck? You had a several year streak. Let's see. There was, I think it was 3 years in a row of a Halloween thing on released on Halloween on Disney Plus. That's MCU, and then suddenly you just decide to not. Yeah, whatever. But part of direction is, of course, also making sure that the audience is emotionally engaged, not just following the plot. And personally, I can only speak for myself. I really, really felt like this. I'm not going to give away whether or not they do, but I so badly wanted, watching this. Yeah, I was thinking, oh, I really, really hope that they end up winning, and like, with some of these, it's like, well, they don't really lose in the MCU. When do the good guys ever lose? Like, okay, other than Infinity War, and we already knew, well, yeah, but there's another movie. They're going to get a chance to win, Yeah, it's very rare for MCU heroes to lose. And again, I'm not giving away whether or not they do here. I'm just saying there were times where I genuinely felt like, oh, there's no way they're going to win now, and that's part of the thing, again, like, seeing these characters that we've spent time with suddenly, some of them are zombies, some of them are just getting fucking murked by zombies. Just, yeah. Shit, is murked one of those words I shouldn't be using? God damn it. It's so difficult to keep track. I mean no offense to anyone who isn't conservative. Anyway, the cinematography and editing are also quite strong. There are some really striking angles and images here. They, yeah. God damn it. No, I don't want to give it away. I'll just say one sequence that shows, like, very early in the zombie apocalypse is this, like, well, let's see. At least part of it is made to look like a continuous shot. That feels weird to say when it's not live action, whatever. Continuous shot, and the way the camera moves and the angles they get and the things that happen in the frame, very, very nice, very effective. Like, that is one thing. Like, it really, really works most of the time. And with the editing, there's several really amazing transitions and just little things in editing that just really work. And this is also some of these animated ones, they don't like letting things sit. I suppose that is an MCU thing in general. Yeah, there are times here where something needs to be allowed to sit, and it is given that. And the yeah, I love all 4 of the episodes. So I'm not entirely sure if this was originally supposed to have more episodes. It didn't really feel to me like they just cut something out. Like, you watch season 1 of What If, and it's like, okay, there's an episode missing because I have no fucking clue who's this Gamora. Like, I know Gamora from the main MCU continuity, but like, the Watcher, let's see, he calls her Thanos Slayer, so it's like, what the fuck? Since when? Like, that would be cool. I think she deserves it. She and Nebula are probably two of the most deserving characters to be the ones to slay him. But yeah, and then in, I want to say, season 3, we did actually get the episode. It doesn't feel like that's the case here, but I don't know for sure. And the let's see, I personally let's see, I watched about one episode per day. I felt like that worked well. You know, I could imagine sitting through the entire, basically treating it as a movie, you know, just letting all 4 episodes play in a row in one sitting. The production value is great. That again feels weird to say for something that's animated, but then again, you know, it's not like animation can't take shortcuts, even stuff like this, because boy, did Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man have an incredibly empty New York City. Yeah, here it does not feel like they took any shortcuts. There's like it's not that every frame is like densely packed, but when it isn't, it feels like it's purposeful. Like there are times where, yeah, there's just like large empty spaces, and you know, that in zombie horror can feel unnerving, because we're like, there's probably zombies right around the fucking corner. Where are they? You know, what's going on? Again, not a spoiler. One of the first things we see, the first thing we see, maybe, possibly the first thing we see. Yeah, yeah. So the set design and location design, since that's also, yeah, you know, and costumes and makeup, really really nicely done. Again, all of it's animation, but I don't know what else to fucking call it, man. Sue me. They do a really great job having them communicate something about characters, and the situation. You know how, because that's, you know, it's no longer a given when you engage with a piece of zombie media. Just how bad is it? You know how, yeah, how much has humanity been destroyed? Has society collapsed? You know, and the music is fantastic. Incredibly tense and genuinely scary. The sound design, my God. Yeah, you really have to bring it, because we've had gnarly, nasty, squelchy, disgusting sounding, you know, people being bitten, people being eaten, torn apart, all this kind of stuff. You got to bring it, and they brought it. And yeah, I thought they did really well with the characters. I guess I'll just so briefly note, all of the acting is great, and I thought they did a good job on. There are some where they didn't get the live action performer, but got someone else. Yeah, they did a really solid job. Um, and I think on a lot of the ones that were the most important, they did get the yeah, the live action actor rather than recast with a professional voice actor. And to be clear, I do think, you know, ideally voice work goes to voice actors. Yeah, but yeah, I thought they did a really great job with which characters they select to bring in here. You know, there's some where it's like, oh, that, oof, that character would definitely fare well in the zombie apocalypse. And then there's others where it's like, oh God, you are going to die and it's going to be ugly. And they felt like they, you know, they were in character. Um, and it's, yeah, it's just great to see some of these characters in this, in the fucking zombie apocalypse. You know, that's part of the appeal. Did I already say that shit? Uh, yeah, I thought they did a really great job on, there are some characters who are basically brought to their very lowest. And we see some of these characters in very extreme circumstance in either direction. You know, sometimes they feel really safe in a place and we see, you know, them have leisure time. Other times they're like, well, Jesus Christ, I lost fucking everything. What am I gonna do? Do I just, you know, lie down and die? What the fuck, you know? Yeah, I think that might just about... Yes, so the pacing, um, for sure, at least some episodes, perhaps not all, but at least some episodes of What If were moving too fast. Let's see. It was less of a problem in Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. That one did pretty well. And, you know, yeah, it's hit and miss with Disney Plus MCU, and you know, theatrical MCU as well sometimes. But well, perhaps less with theatrical. This does a pretty good job. It never felt like it was just rushing ahead, like, you know, which also I think in part was the thing of, you know, stuff got changed. So some of those episodes might have originally taken a little bit more time, but they were rushed ahead. Yeah, fucking Disney. But yeah, here it always felt like it moved at an appropriate pace. And I also really appreciated the way that they would actually... I hope I'm not belaboring the point, but yeah, there are fucking quiet moments in this show. There are times where, like, you know, it doesn't get to be meandering and tedious, but yeah, there are times where, you know, like, okay, to be clear, the plot kicks in, you know, starts very early. Like, we're not many minutes in before something significant happens that really gets them started. But even after that, yeah, there are scenes where it is just, you know, like people living to the extent that they can, you know. There's trying to find joy in little things, for example. And yeah, I thought they did a really, really solid job. So, you know, because sometimes the action and the horror, the action gets big and fast. The horror gets really, really dark and intense. But then we also have these necessary or ideal contrasting sequences where it's just, yeah, like people being people, and you know, yeah. I think that brings us to, yeah. They also do a good job on making the action sufficiently varied, which is, of course, also, you know, you don't really have much of an excuse to not in the MCU, because you have so many toys at your disposal, so many characters to play with, especially here where it's animated, and, you know, it doesn't depend on, you don't have to worry as much about, like, scheduling actors and such. And like, you know, sometimes, like, if hypothetically they can't quite get the live action actor into the sound booth in time for the, you know, they can recast the role, you know. um but yeah, I thought they did a really good job, especially capitalizing on... This is a, you know, if this was a movie, it'd be R. It is a hard R. It does not hold back. If you were worried about that, because, like, you know, Disney, like, their image nice and clean, and, you know, as devoid of trans people as the Trump administration. Jesus fucking Christ. Yeah. I think have I said enough about the action? I suppose, yeah, so about the action, the one of the things is also the fun of, you know, you have these characters who, like, they have just ridiculous powers. Like, yeah, you know, if you've got a TVMA rating, what would happen if they, like, use that power on a zombie, or sometimes on a human being? You know, what would that look like? And sometimes we're shown in very grisly detail. Yeah, it's well choreographed, and yeah. So the comedy, there were times where I felt it really, really worked. Absolutely, there were some jokes that just, I think part of what helps is some of the jokes I especially loved were the really morbid ones, because you can get away with that when you have this kind of rating. They also had some morbid ones in Werewolf by Night, you know, and I feel like, wasn't there at least some morbid humor in maybe Moon Knight also? That one also got pretty intense at times, but yeah, that helps. However, and I don't want to get too harsh here. I really appreciate that, by and large, the MCU has gotten good self-control about not just constantly undermining um, emotional, or sometimes just quiet moments with constant jokes, often ones that are not that funny, because the movies and Disney Plus shows have recently been really good on that. So I guess the fact that this doesn't have that, the fact that this definitely at times feels like it was made years and years ago, which I guess how long ago did they animate their script? I guess is the most, whatever. Yeah, it similar to What If. You know, sometimes the humor just gets really, really broad. I guess in some ways it's not quite as bad as that show was. Um, yeah, I think part of it might have been the fact that this is, you know, well, let's see, I guess it's the first, like, it's the first MCU, or no, adjacent doesn't work, because technically that there's also, before this there was Hellstrom. Anyway, yeah, MCU, I guess, you know, multiverse spin-off thing that is this gory and violent, you know, because, like, it's not the first horror show. Like, technically Agatha All Along is horror, but it's nowhere near as gory and violent as this is, you know, which, that's not a spoiler. Zombie horror, like, by this point we kind of expect a lot of violence and gore. Yeah, it didn't ruin the show for me. There were scenes where I really wanted them to STFU. Yeah, the horror really does get genuinely, at times scary, and at other times just like poking at anxieties in a way that's, well, let's see, not okay. It wasn't always scary, but it did that thing that recent horror, maybe especially elevated horror. Yes, I know some people really fucking hate that term. I agree that it's absurd to claim that horror only recently got elevated, because some of the oldest horror movies are some of the most elevated. But I also think it makes sense. Like, okay, fine, let's pick another fucking word. I'll let you do it. But we gotta, in my opinion, have a word or term that denotes, okay, so this is like horror that wants to be taken seriously. This is not, Friday the 13th. And I say that as someone who, it's been a while by now. It's been years, I guess. I used to watch those movies. I've watched every single Friday the 13th movie multiple times of my own accord. Nobody forced me. I don't think there's a single good movie in there, but, like if you just want something that has, tension and suspense, they work pretty well. It's like fast food. You know what you're getting, and it's not a fucking gourmet meal. I think it's important to be able to distinguish clearly between them. We don't have to call it elevator horror. I made my point. I'm moving on. But yeah, the elevator horror thing of actually exploring trauma happens some here. Some of these characters really go through the fucking ringer, and we see how it affects them. And like some might like get depressed, which, like, Jesus Christ, a depressed character in the MCU and like not played for laughs. I mean, that's something we can get with a TVMA rating, and also, their recent somewhat more willingness to actually go places they haven't before. Yeah, I think right. Yeah, some get depressed, others embrace what joy they can find all the more. Yeah. And yeah, so the sci-fi and fantasy elements, they also do a good job with. Just yeah, they have some really fun stuff with some of these concepts. So fan service has been a problem for Disney properties in recent years. I swear I'm not gonna go off on a thing about the Disney live action remix of the animated Disney classics, because I'm not sure I have anything to say that hasn't already been said by many. I guess I'll just briefly note, I got around to watching the Snow White remake, and yeah, it's not that good of a movie. I don't think everything about it is terrible. I'm not going to go into that much detail. I do just want to note, anyone saying that Rachel Zegler like ruins it, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Like, we knew, if yeah, obviously it's pitch perfect casting. She's got the warm smile. She can sing and dance. She has the, like, you need an actress there that, like, feels, has this, like, warmth to her. And yeah, like, listen, I feel like even if you hate her guts for some reason, which is unfathomable to me, like, listen, even if she wasn't tremendously talented, which she is, in Snow White, Shazam 2, and Hunger Games prequel. I'm not going to say the entire title because I don't want this video to last a week. She's so fucking good in all three of them, And it's also like, if you don't like the fact that she supports Palestine over Israel, I don't even know how the fuck to talk to you. Yeah. Other than that, yes. Major problem in their Star Wars, which I maintain Disney Star Wars is, I don't think it's ever, like, terrible. I don't know. There's a few of them where I think it's like it's okay. Some of it's amazing, like fucking Andor, some of the best Star Wars ever. Some of the best, like in just in general. There's a lot of things about Andor where it's some of the best like media I've seen in many years. And it's a problem in a lot of MCU. Um, here, see, the thing is, a lot of the time, it kind of they try to make sure it doubles as like just character moments. So, like, for example, you might see that a character, even though it's the zombie apocalypse, they still enjoy this particular thing. So yes, it's fan service, it's a reference, it's like, member berries, but it is also communicating something about that character, And yeah, uh, there are a lot of these references. I think for me, enough of the time, it is, in service to something else. Um, yeah. So I think that might, right. So I've mentioned a lot about the gore and violence. I am not sure I've mentioned just how varied it is. Like they do a good job of coming up with different really fucked up shit for us to, witness and hear. Um, yeah, I thought they did a really good job of always coming up with something that we hadn't already seen or heard in this particular piece of media. I'm not saying that all of it is 100% unique to, like there's other there's zombie movies that do at least similar. Um, but yeah, this does have some of the most fucked up shit I've ever seen in a piece of media. Wonderful. And yeah, the use of superpowers and abilities and such is creative, and I thought it was the right amount. It's not so much that we're just watching, okay, it's just like what a, it can end up white noise. Um, I will say there's at least one time where it gets close, but they do stop short of it. But yeah, there's some genuinely, like they came up with some stuff that you could not really do anywhere outside of this. The specific superpowers, and also just the fact that a lot of zombie media, there's no superpowers, and yeah, I'm glad this exists. So, if there is no second season, then I do think that the ending, which right now I'm not 100% certain if it is meant to be the final ending or if they do want to, because I could see how they could follow it up, but I am satisfied if this is the last we'll see of this, and I could imagine they might wait and see if people really want more of this. Yeah, I think that there's some stuff here that is very nicely far left, or at least could be interpreted as it. I suppose it's possible to interpret it as not that. Um, yeah, that brings us to the yeah. So I have this ranking of the overall. Yeah. Um, the overall. Let's see. Okay, how do I word this? every single Disney Plus MCU show or miniseries. Yeah. So for that, you know, worst to best for all of them, and the yeah, there we go. Yes. So keeping in mind, you know, I've found something to love about every single one of these. There are a few where certainly I don't love all of them to quite the same extent, but I do think there is something to love, at least in my opinion, about every single one of these. So, worst to best, if we're talking overall show / season, Loki Season 1, What If Season 1, Secret Invasion, What If Season 2, Wakanda, What If Season 3, Hawkeye, The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, Ironheart, Marvel Zombies, Loki Season 2, Moon Knight, Ms. Marvel, Echo, Agatha, WandaVision. Finale for ones that have ended their run, Secret Invasion, Wakanda, What If Season 3, Hawkeye, The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Echo, Marvel Zombies, Ironheart, Loki Season 2, Moon Knight, Ms. Marvel, Agatha, WandaVision. And pilot. What If, Loki, Wakanda, Echo, Hawkeye, Secret Invasion, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Ironheart, Marvel Zombies, Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, Season 1, Moon Knight, Agatha, Ms. Marvel, and WandaVision. And yeah, overall, so the following is based on how well the strengths outweigh the weaknesses. Because you know, obviously, I have had some criticisms here. Right. I guess I'll just briefly note. So one thing about the ending, I don't know if they realized while making it how confusing it is to me and at least some other people. I read, you know, right after the credits, you know, yeah, I Googled and I found an article that tried to explain it, and then like scrolled into the comment section, and like immediately there's someone saying, oh, you actually misunderstood it. And I agree with the comment. You know, I think they missed something, and I don't blame them, because yeah, I think they needed just a tiny bit more setup. I don't hate the I already mentioned, you know, I'm fond of the ending. I think they needed just a tiny bit of adjusting to make it sing, to as far as not being confusing, because I don't think they meant it to be. You know, it's I'm not saying it's supposed to be that there's supposed to be nothing confusing about it, but I don't think they meant for it to be as confusing. Yes, I think that does bring us to so yeah. I rate this 8 gloriously decimated, like ripped limb from limb, blown apart, just fucking destroyed hordes of zombies, some of them superpowered, out of 10.